I worked at the unit for 15 years. Clean as a whistle. But my wife filed a real name report accusing me of taking a 200,000 bribe. They couldn't even find a single cent wrong. After I was cleared, the head of the unit shook my hand and apologized. I didn't say a word. I turned around and went home, looking at my daughter's chubby little face. I suddenly remembered how cold my wife has been all these years, and that cousin who's always dropping by the house. The next day I took my daughter to the hospital. The moment the paternity test came out, my hands were shaking. His hand was dry and warm. I looked at him without saying a word. A file lay on the table. Red header, black text. Regarding the 200,000 bribery accusation against Shin Hung. Conclusion that the report was unfounded. 3 whole months. 92 days. Every day I spent all my meals in a room less than 10 square meters. Someone brought the food. Twice a day. Someone came to talk to me. They asked me the source of every deposit. The destination of every expense. They went over it with me again and again. I said I didn't take it. They didn't believe me, but they seemed to, and today this unwarranted disaster finally came to an end. Team leader Zhang personally walked me out of the office building. At your unit, I've already talked it over with Director Zhao. He said they'll hold a small meeting for you. Restore your reputation publicly. I nodded. Go home and get some good rest. Your wife hasn't had it easy either. I stopped in my tracks, staring straight at him. A flicker of embarrassment crossed his face. Yeah. My wife, Jiang Jiro. She placed righteousness above family loyalty. She filed a real name report against me. She said there was a 200,000 deposit slip hidden in the secret compartment of my nightstand. They pried open the compartment. It was empty. Nothing there. Jiang Jiro insisted that she had seen that deposit slip with her own eyes. I looked at them and said only 3 words. I didn't. Now I'm cleared. Team leader Zhang patted me on the shoulder and turned to leave. I stood in the sunlight, a little dazzled. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Director Zhao. Shin Hung. Where are you? I'll throw you a welcome dinner tonight. Can't do dinner. I just want to go home. There was a silence on the other end of the line. All right, your wife must be looking forward to seeing you. Don't worry. Work matters. I'll take care of them for you. I hung up and went home. In the 15 years I'd never made a mistake at work. This incident made me the talk of everyone. The home I'd lived in for 12 years. Because of this, I couldn't go back to it either. I hailed a cab and gave the address. The car started moving, the tree shadows outside the window, receding one after another. My mind went completely blank, until the cab stopped at the building. I paid and got out, walked slowly into the hallway, pulled out my keys, inserted them into the lock, and turned the door open. I changed into my slippers, and walked inside. There was Jiang Jiro holding up a toy airplane, teasing our daughter Shin Nancy. Mommy, higher, higher. Nancy sat on the sofa, kicking her little legs and giggling. She saw me and froze. Daddy. Her voice was very soft, with a timid edge. 3 months. She had grown distant from me. Jiang Jiro put down the model in her hand, and slowly stood up. You're back. I looked at her. She seemed a little like she was the one who had been wronged. I grunted in response. I walked over to the sofa and sat down. Nancy peeked her little head out from behind him. She was sneaking a look at my face. Her cheeks were rosy, very cute. I used to love pinching her cheeks. Now, looking at that face, my heart felt cold. Have some water. A glass was handed to me. I didn't take it. When did you know I was back? Captain Zhang called me. The living room was very quiet. The TV was on, but there was no sound. A fruit platter was on the table. The grapes in it looked fresh. Suddenly, something occurred to me. When I was taken away, it was that afternoon. My coworker and cousin, Song Jiyuan, said he was coming over for dinner. He was my senior from college. Later, we ended up in the same system. His parents and mine had a good relationship in the old days. So Jiang Jiro calls him cousin. He's not married. He always liked to mooch meals at our place. After I was taken away, did he come by? Has Song Juan come around lately? Jiang Jiro's body stiffened slightly, very faintly, but I saw it. No, he hasn't. How would he have the nerve to come? Her eyes looked a bit shifty. I didn't say anything. I picked up the remote on the table and turned off the TV. I stood up. I'm tired. Let's eat. It's already made. Won't you have some? I walked toward the bedroom. I pushed the bedroom door open. The bed was neatly made, just the way it was before I left. The professional books I kept on the nightstand had been replaced by a few fashion magazines. I pulled open the nightstand drawer. Inside was my watch. The wallet's card slot had already been pried open, leaving an ugly gap. I reached inside and felt nothing. Jiang Jiro stood at the door, at a loss. Jiang Jiro, let me explain. I was out of my mind that day. I turned to look at her. She was crying, tears falling one by one. I was under too much pressure. I was afraid someone would call me, saying you took the money and would get caught eventually, telling me to turn you in myself, so I could get credit for cooperating. The lie he made up and the 100 scenarios I imagined during the investigation. None of them matched up. Those excuses were too ridiculous. I watched her cry, and felt nothing inside. 15 years of marriage. I thought I knew her. Now I realize I don't know her at all. I looked at her, then past her. At our daughter Niancy, peeking from the living room. Niancy is 5 years old. She looks like Zhang Jiro, especially her eyes. Everyone used to say Niancy was the perfect mix of us both. Her eyes like her mother's. Her nose like her father's. I looked at Niancy's nose, small and upturned. Does it look anything like mine? A crazy thought crept into my mind. Once it appeared, I couldn't push it away. It was like acid, burning away the last bit of warmth in my heart. I walked up to Zhang Jiro. She was still crying. Stop crying. My voice was calm. She stared at me blankly. Tomorrow we're taking Niancy to the hospital. The hospital? Is Niancy sick? She was nervous. She's not sick. I looked into her eyes and said, let's go get a checkup. The next morning, I woke up at 6. Zhang Jiro was still asleep beside me. Her brow was furrowed. She seemed restless in her sleep. I watched her for a while, then got up to wash up. The man in the mirror looked thin, gaunt. His eyes were unfamiliar. I shaved, changed my clothes. At 7, I knocked on Niancy's door. Niancy, time to get up. No answer from inside. I pushed the door open. Only the top of her head was visible. I woke her up. She rubbed her eyes. Seeing it was me, she looked a little scared. Daddy, are you up? Daddy's taking you out to play. Where are we going? Somewhere they draw blood. Niancy's face went pale instantly. I don't want blood drawn. I'm scared of needles. She started rolling around on the bed, throwing a tantrum. Zhang Jiro was woken up. Rushed into the room. Shenheng, what are you doing? What's wrong with you this early in the morning? She pulled Niancy into her arms. Glaring at me. Niancy is scared of needles. Don't you know that? What kind of test? Does it have to be today? I watch her protect the child. Like an angry hen. It has to be today, we have to go. We stand off against each other. Niancy is between us, looking. I look at her, and she bursts out crying with a wail. I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to draw blood. Zhang Jiro holds her, while coaxing her, while shooting daggers at me with her eyes. What exactly are you trying to check? Routine physical? You've been away so long. Can't I care about our daughter's health? Flawless excuse. But Zhang Jiro bit her lip, unable to speak. I walked over. I pulled Niancy out of her arms. Niancy cried even harder. Either I take her, or the three of us go together. You choose. She stared at me. A few seconds later, she backed down. I'll go change. On the way to the hospital, the atmosphere in the car was tense. I drove. Zhang Jiro and Niancy sat in the back. Niancy was still sobbing quietly. Zhang Jiro spent the whole ride soothing her, telling her stories, promising to buy her the biggest ice cream after the checkup. I watched them in the rearview mirror. It was a warm scene. A good mother, a lovely daughter. If that thought hadn't occurred to me yesterday, I probably would have softened. I would have felt guilty for treating them like this right after coming back. But now, there's only frozen ground in my heart. We arrived at the hospital. I registered immediately. We went to the paternity testing center. When Zhang Jiro saw the words, Forensic Identification Center, her expression changed. Shenheng, you? Her voice trembled. I ignored her, pulled Niancy and walked inside. I don't want to go in. There are bad people in there. Zhang Jiro caught up, grabbed my arm. Shenheng, what do you mean? You suspect Niancy? Her voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp. People in the hallway looked over. I shook off her hand. You have a guilty conscience. I asked her coldly. Her face went pale. Bastard. How can you think that? Niancy is your daughter. My own daughter. Just because I reported you, you're gonna take revenge like this. Humiliate me and the child like this. I watch her perform, every expression, every tear so perfectly timed. In the past, I would have given in already. But now, I only feel disgust. We'll know once we check. Both the adult and the child need blood drawn. Niancy struggled even more when she heard about the blood draw. Zhang Jiro rushed over trying to grab the child. I used force to hold Niancy still. Take mine first. The needle went into my arm. Blood flowed into the collection tube. I didn't feel the pain. Then it was Niancy's turn. She was held down by 2 nurses, crying her heart out. Daddy, I hate you. Mom, save me. Zhang Jiro was crying on the side, cursing me. Shenheng, you're not human. You'll regret this. I looked at that tube of blood drawn from Niancy's arm. My heart felt empty. After the blood draw, after the paperwork. Results in 7 business days. You can pick them up yourself, or have them mailed. I'll pick them up myself. I walked out of the testing center. Zhang Jiro was holding Nancy, who had cried herself out, looked at me like an enemy. Shin Hung. We're done. Let's talk after the results come out. I walked ahead to the parking lot. She followed behind. She settled Nancy in, then stormed into the study. I was sitting at the computer looking up lawyer info. You owe me an explanation. She slammed the door shut, yelling at me. Why did you do this? Who's been gossiping in your ear? Who's been gossiping in your ear? Is it Song Ji-yuan? He brought up Song Ji-yuan first. I was a little surprised. I looked up. Who else could it be if not him? Who else would come to our house? He must have told you something. He acted like he was grasping at straws. Don't believe him. He's nothing but a snake. He's had it out for me for a long time. Suddenly, watching him, I found it all ridiculous. I was inside for 92 days. Not once did my wife think about what I was going through. Not a single check-in call from my cousin. Now she's trying to shift the blame onto him. What did he say to you? I played along and asked her. She froze. She must have badmouthed me. Said I was having an affair with another man. He tested the waters. I didn't say anything. Her face got paler and paler. Shin Hung, you can't think of me that way. We've been married for 15 years. Don't you know who I am? I used to think I did. I said, turning off the computer. Until the results come in. We'll sleep in separate rooms. I stood up and walked out of the study. You take the master bedroom. I'll sleep in the guest room. He stood there, trembling all over. What if the test proves Nancy is your daughter? Shin Hung, how are you going to face that? I stopped. If she is, I'll get on my knees and apologize. I opened the guest room door and walked inside. The door closed. I heard him let out a desperate sob outside. The 7 days waiting for the results felt like a century. Jiang Jiro and I lived under the same roof, but we were strangers. We didn't speak. We don't talk. The food was made by the hourly cook. He finishes what he's doing and leaves. Jiang Jiro and I eat at different times. I eat at different times than Jiang Jiro. She stopped making a scene. Nancy seems to have noticed something too. Sometimes I walk past her door. She stopped making a fuss. Mom and Dad won't talk to me anymore. She spends most of her time in her room. But I didn't stop walking. Sometimes when I pass by her door, I've gone through all the photo albums from the past 12 years. I can hear her talking to her doll, Nancy, from a baby in swaddling clothes. Mom and Dad don't care about me anymore. I found photos of myself as a child and compared them. It stung like a needle piercing my heart. Nancy's eyes, eyebrows, mouth and face shape are almost a perfect copy of hers. But I didn't stop walking. He was my senior in college. These past 7 days, I've spent most of my time in the guest room. I placed Nancy's photo and Song Ji-yuan's photo side by side. I went through every photo album from the last 12 years. The slight upward curve at the corner of the mouth when smiling is exactly the same. I looked at them one by one. I started remembering every time Song Ji-yuan came to our house. Nancy grew from a baby in swaddling clothes. Said they were for Nancy, into a beautiful little girl. She'd cook a whole table of his favorite dishes herself. I pulled out my own childhood photos to compare. They always had so much to talk about. Not a single feature of hers looked like mine. Then I found Jiang Jiro's photos. If I tried to jump in, Nancy's eyes, eyebrows, mouth and face shape, they're almost a perfect copy of hers. Then go right back to their own conversation. I also found Song Ji-yuan's photos. Told myself they were cousins. He was my senior in college. I was busy with work. We have a lot of group photos together. Not much of a talker. I placed Nancy's photo next to Song Ji-yuan's photo. What a fool I was. That same perky nose. I was pacing like crazy outside the delivery room. That same slight upward curve of the lips when she smiles. Exactly the same. He said he just happened to be passing by the hospital. Heard Jiang Jiro was giving birth and dropped in. The nurse brought the baby out. I was the first to rush up. Song Ji-yuan followed behind me. He looked at Nancy in the swaddling clothes. The light in his eyes was brighter than mine, her real father. Junior brother, congratulations. Your daughter is really beautiful. When she said that, she kept looking at Nancy and never once looked at me. I remember one time I got off work early and came home. I opened the door and saw Song Ji-yuan and Jiang Jiro on the couch. They were sitting very close together. Jiang Jiro was crying. Song Ji-yuan had his arm around her shoulder, comforting her. When they saw me, they sprang apart like they'd been shocked. I was watching a Korean drama. It was so touching. Yeah. Women cry so easily. I believed it. What a fool I was. Over and over, I believed that the 2 million accusation was true. Only those two could come up with such a vicious scheme. They thought that once I went in, I'd never get out. My house, my savings, my social standing, it would all just naturally become theirs. They didn't even have to get a divorce. Just a criminal's wife with a child. He and his cousin were each other's only family. What a touching story. I put all the photos away. I picked up my phone and called a friend who was a private investigator. Look into someone for me. Who? Song Ji-yuan. And my wife, Jiang Jiro. What do you want me to check? Their hotel check-in records from 5 years ago to now. Financial transactions. Everything. Are you sure? Yes. All right. I'll get back to you in 3 days. I hung up. I felt cold all over. The 7th day came, the day to pick up the report. I took leave from work. When I was heading out, Jiang Jiro blocked the doorway. She had also gotten dressed. I'm coming with you. No need. I have to go. I need to see the results myself. She was very agitated, as if she was certain the result would be what she wanted. Maybe he thought that as long as he acted confident enough, he could change the facts. I didn't refuse again. No words were exchanged along the way. Arrived at the testing center. I gave my name. The staff handed me a craft paper envelope. The envelope was thin, but very heavy. I almost couldn't hold it steady. Jiang Jiro tried to grab it. Dodged away. I held that envelope tightly. My fingertips were ice cold. My hands were shaking. Couldn't control it. Jiang Jiro saw it too. She got scared. Shinhong, it's not too late to regret this now. Come back and apologize to me and our daughter. I'll pretend this never happened. I ignored her. I tore open the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a piece of paper. I pulled it out. My eyes went straight to the bottom. Conclusion of the test. That line of black song-style characters. Like a red-hot knife stabbing into my eyes. Based on DNA analysis results. Exclude. Shinhong as the biological father of Shin Niancy. Exclude. 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 My brain buzzed. Completely blank. The world went silent. I couldn't hear what Jiang Jiro was saying. Couldn't even feel my own heartbeat. I was like a puppet whose soul had been drained. Standing there, staring at that piece of paper. I don't know how long passed. Only then did Jiang Jiro's voice pierce my ears. She seemed to be screaming. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The report is fake. You forged the report. She rushed to the counter, slamming the table, yelling at the staff. I slowly folded the report, put it back into the envelope, then put it in my inside pocket, right against my chest. It used to be warm there. Now that paper is freezing it like a block of ice. I turned around. Jiang Jiro was still making a scene. She was like a crazy person. I walked over and grabbed her arm. This is fake. You have to believe me, something must be wrong. When I got home, I only said 2 words. My voice was calm. So calm it didn't even sound like me. I pulled her and walked out. She wasn't as strong as me. I dragged her all the way out of the hospital and stuffed her into the car. I started the engine and drove off. She was still crying in the passenger seat, still saying it's impossible. Shinhong, you have to trust me. You're the only man I've ever been with. 6,000 a month, 3 months deposit paid up front. The first time you paid 36,000. All of this was in the files my detective friend sent me. Half of it, every transaction was crystal clear. All that was left in Jiang Jiro's eyes was fear. She looked at me like I was a demon. You investigated me. When you filed a real name report against me. You should have known this day would come. Today my phone buzzed. I picked it up and looked. It was an encrypted file from my friend. The title was, Everything You Asked For. I answered the call. Shinhong, I sent the stuff. Enough to nail that couple, hotel records, financial transactions, and some screenshots of their WeChat chats. I had someone recover them, and there's content about how they plotted against you. Take a look yourself. Got it. I hung up. I held the phone screen up to Jiang Jiro to show her the file name. She couldn't see what was inside, but she understood the title. Her mental defenses completely collapsed. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Forgive me. How about we go home this time? We won't get divorced. For Niancy's sake. He can't grow up without a father. I took the paternity test report out of my pocket, unfolded it, and placed it in front of him. He looked down at it. At the line that read Shinhong is excluded as the biological father of Shun Niancy. His crying stopped abruptly, as if someone had grabbed him by the throat. The car fell deathly silent. Just then, a black Audi A6 pulled into the parking lot. The car stopped not far away. The door opened. Song Zhiyuan got out from the driver's seat. He was wearing casual clothes, carrying several grocery bags in his hands, filled with vegetables and meat. He was even humming a tune. He locked the car and glanced up at a certain window in Building 15. A warm, homecoming smile on his face. That direction was exactly apartment 1103. Jiang Jiro saw it too. Watching that man. Watching the grocery bags in his hands. Watching the satisfied smile on his face. Finally, she buried her head in her knees, letting out a suppressed, beast-like sob. I drove home. Jiang Jiro didn't say a word the whole way. She just curled up in the passenger seat, like a soulless rag doll. When we got home, I parked the car. She didn't move to get out. She followed me into the building. Into the elevator. Out of the elevator. I unlocked the door with my key. Niancy heard the sound, and ran out of her room. Mom! She lunged at Jiang Jiro. Jiang Jiro's body stiffened. She dodged. Niancy missed, frozen in place. Her big eyes full of confusion and hurt. She looked at Jiang Jiro, and she looked at me again. Then she carefully retreated back to her room. closed the door. I changed my shoes, walked to the living room and sat down on the couch. You sit too. Jiang Jiro was like a puppet on strings. She sat down on the couch across from me. I didn't go to the study to get my laptop. Instead, I turned on the smart TV in the living room. I cast the contents of my phone onto the huge TV screen. The first thing was that DNA test report. Black and white. The conclusion was clear. Let's start with this. Nancy is not my daughter. So after the divorce, her custody goes to you. I won't pay any child support, and there's no need for visitation between us. Jiang Jiro's body swayed. She didn't say anything. I pressed the next button. A table appeared on the screen. It was the asset list I had made. Second, the property. This house is 180 square meters. I paid for it in full before marriage. Only my name is on the property deed. It's my premarital asset. You have no claim to it. The car in the household. It cost 500,000 and is registered under my name. It was also purchased with my premarital savings. Similarly, it's a premarital asset. You have no share in it either. As for savings, whatever is in each of our names stays with each of us. I checked your bank account, aside from what your parents gave you, and Song Jiyuan. He's been transferring money to you since last year, totaling 320,000. You used other people's accounts as a middleman. You thought I wouldn't find out. This money is proof of your affair with him. I will submit it in court. With every point I made, Jiang Jiro's face turned paler. I continued flipping. The screen started playing a series of photos. They were of Song Jiyuan and her at various hotel entrances or in the parking lots of residential complexes. Photos of them hugging and kissing. The time and place were clearly marked. Third ground for divorce. Adultery during marriage, maintaining a long-term improper relationship with another man. The evidence for this is solid. But the most important thing is, you, Jiang Jiro, conspired with Song Jiyuan to maliciously make false accusations, trying to get me thrown in prison, so you could take over all my assets. This isn't just cheating. This is a crime. Screenshots of some WeChat chat logs appeared on the screen. Honey's starting to get suspicious of me. What do I do? Guess we have to stick to the plan. Once he's locked up, you and Nancy will both be mine. That 200,000 deposit slip, will he really buy it? You just have to stand firm. Say you saw it with your own eyes. Won't let it slide. As long as he's detained, we win. These were the final straw that broke him. Jiang Jiro watched the TV screen. Those ugly conversations between her and Song Jiyuan. She finally broke down. It's not like that. He forced me. Or him. He said you've been treating me worse and worse. He said only she could make me happy. Reporting you was his idea too. He said once you're done for, we can be together forever. He washed his hands of all responsibility. Even at this moment, he's still putting on an act. I turned off the TV. The living room fell silent. I stood up, took out 2 documents I had printed earlier from the study, and threw them onto the coffee table in front of him. One was a divorce agreement. The other was a voluntary renunciation of property. Sign them. We'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow for an amicable split. I won't press criminal charges for your false accusation. And I'll spare you a shred of dignity by letting you leave with nothing. That's it. If you don't sign all this evidence, including Nancy's paternity test report, I'll print 110 copies and send them straight to the court. The rest goes to your parents, to my parents, all the relatives from both our families, and my workplace and Song Jiyuan's workplace. You should know how to choose. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of woman you are, and what kind of man Song Jiyuan is. By then, what you lose won't just be money and a house. It'll be every bit of your dignity as a human being for the rest of your life. Jiang Jiro looked at the documents on the coffee table, then looked up at me. In her eyes, it went from reading to pleading, and finally just a dead gray. The next day I woke up very early. I hadn't slept all night. I sat on the couch, like a lifeless statue. The 2 documents on the coffee table were still there. She hadn't touched them. I didn't rush her to wash up or get dressed. I had something more important to do today. Before I left, I looked at her. I'll give you 1 day to think it over. I need to see your signature tomorrow morning. With that, I left the house. I didn't go to work. Instead, I drove straight to a law firm. I found it online during those 7 days. The most famous marriage attorney in the city, Wang Mingyuan. I met with lawyer Wang at the scheduled time. She was in her 40s, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. She looked very sharp. Hello, Mr. Shin. Lawyer Wang. We shook hands. Sat down as host and guest. I didn't waste any words. I took a USB drive out of my briefcase and placed it in front of her. Lawyer Wang. I want a divorce. Everything is in here, all the evidence. Lawyer Wang nodded, plugged the USB drive into her computer. She opened the folder. She looked through each one, from the paternity test report to the property list, to those shameful photos and chat logs. Her expression shifted from calm to slight surprise, and then to gravity at the end. He read it very carefully. Took a full half hour. When he finished, he took off his glasses and rubbed his brow. Mr. Shin, to be honest, I've handled hundreds of divorces, but this is the first time I've seen evidence as devastating as yours. This evidence is enough to leave your wife completely defenseless in court. She'll definitely walk away with nothing. Then I'll entrust this to you. My requirements are simple. First, divorce as soon as possible. Second, she doesn't take a single cent. Third, custody of the child must go to her. I don't want anything to do with that child anymore. No problem. Legally, since the child is not yours, you have no obligation for support or property. The other party is the major at-fault party, and had malicious intent to transfer and embezzle your assets. Your premarital property is absolutely safe. The division of marital property will also be completely in your favor. Good. We settled on the attorney fees. Signed the contract. As I was about to leave, I asked her one last question. Attorney Wong, legally, what else can I do to that man? Attorney Wong paused for a moment. It's hard to take legal action, but if you have solid evidence proving that he participated in and orchestrated the false accusation against you, you can pursue criminal charges. But from the chat records you provided, they're very cunning. A lot of it was verbal agreements. Forming a complete chain of evidence is difficult. Compared to criminal proceedings, targeting his workplace and reputation might be a more direct and effective blow. That was exactly what I was thinking. I understand. Thank you, Attorney Wong. I walked out of the law firm, feeling like half the weight in my heart was lifted. The legal weapon for revenge is ready. Next comes another front. I stood on the side of the road and took out my phone. I didn't call Jiang Jiro. Instead, I dialed Director Zhao from my unit. The call was picked up quickly. Xiaoshan, how's your rest going? Thank you for your concern, Director Zhao. I've recovered well. Director Zhao, when would be convenient for you? I want to return to work as soon as possible. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then he laughed. You're always welcome. Come back and stir things up. I've had Xiao Zhou keep your office ready. It's been cleaned every day. Thank you, Director Zhao. Also, about that meeting you mentioned to restore my reputation. Oh right, should we keep it small? Or, Director Zhao, I think we can make it bigger. I watched the endless stream of traffic on the street. My gaze turned sharp. Better to have all the mid-level cadres in the bureau attend. After all, this matter had a big impact. I want my innocence to be known by more people. I don't just want a divorce. I want to reclaim everything I lost, my reputation, my position, and justice. Not one thing will be missing. The next morning, when I walked out of the guest room, Jiang Jiro was still sitting on the sofa. She hadn't moved all night. In front of her were those two documents. On the last page of the divorce agreement, she had signed her name. The handwriting was shaky, as if she had used all her strength. I walked over, picked up the documents, and checked them. The property waiver was signed too. She spoke, her voice hoarse like sandpaper scraping. I picked up the other document. I saw her signature and thumbprint. I put the documents into my briefcase. ID card, household registration, marriage certificate, get them ready. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 9. I didn't look at her again. I turned and walked toward the door. Shinhang, she called out to me from behind. Niancy, is she really Song Jiyuan's daughter? There was even a hint of doubt in her voice. I almost laughed out loud. At this point, he was still holding on to illusions. Or rather, he was trying to find an excuse for himself, to prove he hadn't been deceiving me from the start. You should ask Song Jiyuan that question. I pulled open the door and walked out. The sunlight was nice. I drove to the office. It was 8:30. Many colleagues had just arrived. They saw me in the hallway. Their expressions complicated. Some sympathy, some curiosity, and also distance. I acted unfazed. I walked straight to my office. The door was locked. I took out my key and opened it. Inside was spotless. Director Zhao wasn't lying to me. He really had Xiao Zhou clean the place every day. I sat down, opened my computer to deal with the backlog of emails. 9:30. Director Zhao's secretary came to the door. Director, Section Chief Shin, please come to the big conference room. I stood up, straightened my collar, followed him over, pushed open the conference room door. When he saw me, he waved me over. Come, Shinhang, sit here. He pointed to the seat beside him. I walked over and sat down. I could feel countless eyes behind me, like searchlights shining on my back. I could also see Song Jiyuan sitting in the corner of the conference room. He kept his head down, didn't dare look at me. His whole demeanor was a world apart from the day I was taken away. The meeting began. No unnecessary pleasantries. Director Zhao got straight to the point. He started by saying a few words about the importance of discipline and work ethic in the unit. Then he shifted gears. Recently, something happened in our unit. Comrade Shinhang was publicly reported by name, accused of financial misconduct. The meeting room fell dead silent. A special task force was set up. They investigated Comrade Shinhang for 3 full months. Director Zhao's voice was very stern. I gathered everyone here today to officially announce the conclusion of this investigation. After investigation, the allegations that Shin Hung secretly accepted money are completely fabricated. They are malicious false accusations. The Discipline Inspection Commission has officially issued a document to clarify the facts for Comrade Shin Hung and restore his reputation. He put down the document and looked at me. Here. It is we who failed to protect our cadre. You have been wronged. With that, he stood up and gave me a deep bow. The whole room erupted in murmurs. I immediately stood up and held him. Director Zhao, it's not your fault, not the unit's fault. Director Zhao straightened up and shook my hand. A good comrade indeed. He turned to the whole room and said, Comrade Shin Hung is a key professional in our unit. For 15 years, he has been diligent and dedicated, with clean hands. This incident has caused enormous harm to him personally, and to his family. I hope everyone in the unit takes this as a lesson. At the same time, we must firmly support and trust our comrades. Do not be misled by rumors. Applause started sporadically, then grew enthusiastic. I saw many colleagues looking at me, their expressions shifting from sympathy to admiration. My reputation was polished clean again at that moment. Director Zhao asked me to say a few words. I walked to the microphone and looked at the dense crowd below the stage. My eyes finally landed on Song Zhiyuan's pale face. Our gazes met in the air. We locked eyes for a second. He ducked his head as if burned. I picked up the microphone. My voice was clear and steady. Thank you all for your letters. Thank you for the leadership's concern. These past 3 months I've thought a lot. As someone who has worked in the unit for 15 years, I've always believed in one saying. A straight foot is not afraid of a crooked shadow. I trust the organization and the rules to give me justice. Today that justice has arrived. I'm fine. But some things can't just be let go. My voice turned cold. False accusations aren't just against me personally. They're a provocation against our entire team. They trample on the organization's rules. And that person hiding in the shadows. That despicable coward trying to ruin someone's life with vile methods. My gaze, sharp as a knife, swept over Song Zhiyuan again. He lowered his head even further. His shoulders were trembling slightly. I hope the organization will investigate thoroughly and show no leniency. When I finished speaking, the conference room erupted in thunderous applause. This time, everyone's applause was sincere. After the meeting ended, my world was quiet. Walking through the office corridors, everyone I met took the initiative to greet me. Section Chief Zhao is back. Section Chief Zhao, you've suffered. Their faces showed just the right amount of concern and warmth, as if the 3 months of isolation and suspicion had never happened. I responded to each one, my expression calm. I returned to my office. Just as I sat down, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I picked up the call. I'm at the tea house across from the office. We need to talk. It was Song Zhiyuan. His voice was filled with exhaustion and fear. I have nothing to talk to you about. No, please. Just 10 minutes. His voice trembled with tears. Fine. I hung up the phone. Stand up. Walk downstairs without haste. The tea house wasn't crowded. Song Zhiyuan chose the most secluded booth. He looked at me like I was a lifeline, and like I was the Grim Reaper. His expression was extremely complicated. The teacup in front of him hadn't been touched. I sat down, poured myself a cup of tea and said, Talk. Brother Hung, Section Chief Shen. He was rambling nonsense. I heard everything at today's meeting. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. He dropped with a thud and slid off his seat, about to kneel to me. I leaned back and dodged him. Just say what you have to say. Don't pull this crap. The tea house waitress looked over. With a strange look, Song Zhiyuan scrambled back up and sat upright. That thing with Section Chief Sure. The report against you. It really wasn't my idea. It was Jiang Jiro. It was my sister-in-law. She insisted on doing it. She said only if you were locked up could she be free. He started acting again the exact same script as Jiang Jiro, shifting the blame to the other person. I watched him quietly, saying nothing. My silence made him even more scared. Really, I swear. I tried to talk her out of it. I said it was too risky, too ruthless. But she wouldn't listen. She was dead set on taking you down. He raised his hand, as if swearing to heaven. Is that so? I pulled out my phone from my briefcase. I didn't unlock it. Instead, I turned the screen toward him while it was in standby. On the screen was a photo I had just set up, of her and Jiang Jiro outside that rented apartment building. The Forever Kiss photo. This is a high-definition screenshot I took from a video a friend sent me. Song Zhiyuan's eyes were glued to the phone screen. The color drained from his face even more than it had in the meeting room. Her lips trembled. She wanted to say something but couldn't make a sound. Do you want me to show you something else? Like your chat logs? About how to plan it? how I transfer the assets, and how to make your cousin's husband walk away with nothing and rot in prison. Song Jiyuan's body began to tremble violently. Sweat poured down his forehead in large drops. Or let's talk about Niancy. I threw out the final hammer blow. You like her, don't you? Every time you come to my house, you buy her the most expensive toys. On the day she was born, you were even more excited than I was. I'm very curious. Exactly what identity are you using to care about my daughter? Stop talking. Song Jiyuan finally broke down. He held his head in his hands and let out a painful groan. Please don't say any more. I put away my phone, took a sip of tea. The tea had gone cold. Song Jiyuan, we were fellow disciples once. I thought you were my friend, my family. My voice was very light, but every word hit his heart like a sledgehammer. You destroyed my 15-year marriage. You destroyed all my trust in family. You even wanted to destroy my entire life. I'm not human. I'm worse than an animal. He lifted his head, his face covered in tears. I leaned forward, closer to him, and said in a voice only the two of us could hear, now there are two paths. 1. Hand it over to your unit's leadership. What is the crime for falsely accusing and framing a cadre? You know very well. Your fate will be 100 times worse than mine. 2. Before dawn tomorrow, voluntarily submit your resignation to the unit. You and Jiang Zhiro conspired. The step-by-step process of planning this. Write it all down. Sign your name. And hand it to me. After you finish these two things, you can get the hell out. Get out of this city. Never show your face in front of me again. I lean back in my chair. Choose. Song Jiyuan slumps in his seat. Ashen-faced. He knows he has no choice, compared to being disgraced and thrown in jail. A dignified exit is the only lifeline he can grasp. Leaving the tea house. I glance at the time. 8:50. Still 10 minutes until the agreed time. I drive unhurriedly to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Park the car. I walk to the entrance. Jiang Zhiro is already waiting there, wearing a gray trench coat. Her hair casually twisted up. No makeup on her face. Pale and haggard. Holding a cloth bag. Inside it are all the documents we need today. When she sees me, her eyes dart away. She doesn't speak. I can't be bothered to talk either. We're like two strangers waiting in line to get things done. One behind the other, we walk in. Take a number and wait. The whole process is silent. Around us, couples come and go. Some are beaming, here to get their marriage certificate. Others are grim-faced, here to handle divorce paperwork. Our silence stands out starkly in this environment. Finally, our number is called. We walk over and sit down at the counter. Are you two divorcing voluntarily? Yes. Have you both agreed on the division of property? And child custody? All settled. It's all clearly written in the agreement. My older sister picked up our divorce agreement and quickly skimmed through it. When she saw the clauses stating the wife voluntarily gives up all property and custody of the child, with the child to be solely raised by the wife, and the husband pays no child support, those two terms, she lifted her head and looked at Jiang Zhiro in surprise. Jiang Zhiro lowered her head even more. My older sister didn't ask any more questions. This was someone else's family matter. Let's just get it done. We filled out the forms in silence. I wrote quickly. Name, Shun Hang, ethnicity Han. In the reason for divorce box, I wrote only 4 words. Irreconcilable differences. I spared her that last shred of dignity. Filled it out and took a photo. When the steel stamp slammed down on those 2 red divorce certificates, I saw Jiang Zhiro's body flinch violently. It was all over, done. I picked up my copy, stood up and turned to leave, without a single goodbye. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sunlight was blinding. I felt a 1,000-pound burden lift off my shoulders. Jiang Zhiro followed me out. Shin Hang. I stopped, turned to look at him. This was our last conversation as husband and wife. Can I go back and pack up my things and Niancy's? You have 2 hours. I'll wait for you downstairs. When I got home, I stayed downstairs, didn't go up. I leaned against the car and lit a cigarette. This was the first cigarette I'd had in 3 months. The smoke swirled, but my thoughts were crystal clear. In less than an hour, Jiang Zhiro came down. She was dragging 2 large suitcases, with Niancy following beside her. The little girl held onto her mother's clothes, looking at me timidly. Her eyes were red. Clearly she had been crying. I stubbed out the cigarette. Walk over. Give me the car keys to the house. That car is in his name. But I paid for it with my money. The agreement clearly states it's mine. He took it out of his bag and handed it to me. From now on, where are you planning to go? Back to my mom's place? Song Jiyuan. She transferred me some money this morning. Then she blocked me. She said she's leaving the city. I felt nothing. This is the price he has to pay. Take care of yourself. I left those 4 words. I pulled open the car door and got in. Started the engine. The car drove out of the neighborhood. I saw the 2 of them, mother and daughter, in the rearview mirror, getting smaller and smaller. until they turned into a blurry dot. The first thing I did when I got home was call the locksmith. "Hello, sir? I need to change the locks. The highest security level for the whole house." Half an hour later, the locksmith came by, listening to the sound of the drill buzzing, smelling the oil. I knew the last trace of someone else's presence in this house was gone. After the locksmith left, I stood in the empty living room. It finally belonged to me alone again. I took off my jacket, walked into the study, and poured myself a whiskey. My phone buzzed. It was a file transfer notification. I tapped on it. It was a Word document Song Ji-Yuen had sent, titled Confession. I opened it and read it word for word. Inside, it detailed how he set me up, how my wife realized Niancy was his daughter, how he gradually seduced Jiang Jiro, and ultimately planned that vicious false accusation. It was written with genuine emotion, full of regret. After I finished reading it, I saved it. Then I dragged the document into the encrypted folder. This was my last safety net. I walked over to the window with a glass of wine. The city lights were just coming on outside. Thousands of glowing windows. The streets were still bustling with traffic. Felt like nothing had changed. But my world had been turned upside down. And then I rebuilt it with my own hands. I took a sip of the wine. The sharp liquid burned its way down my throat, leaving a trail of heat. I won this war. Cleanly. Completely. But there was no wild joy in my heart. Only a calm as deep as the ocean. The revenge was over. Tomorrow, the sun would rise as usual. My new life was just beginning. The next day I woke up in an extreme kind of silence. No noise from Niancy getting up in the morning. No clatter from Jiang Jiro in the kitchen. No careful footsteps from the housekeeper. The whole 1,800-square-foot apartment felt as empty as a giant echo chamber. I lay in bed, with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling. For a long time, I no longer felt that tension from the days of revenge, nor the thrill of having accomplished my goal. Just a vast emptiness after everything had settled. I had taken half a month to cut through the mess with swift strokes, severing all the rotten roots of the past 15 years. Now I stood on a cleared patch of ruins, with no more people or things around me that disgusted me, but also nothing at all. I got up, washed up, and cooked myself a bowl of noodles. A very simple plain noodle soup, just salt and a few drops of soy sauce. After eating, I washed the bowl spotless, and put it back. Then I picked up my phone, and dialed my mother's number. The phone rang for a long time before she picked up. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered. "Hey, Mrs. He. It's me. You okay? Did that meeting happen? The office didn't give you a hard time, did they?" The day I was taken away, news quickly reached my parents. The old couple was so worried they almost got sick. These 3 months they've pulled every string, asked countless people for help, but couldn't even see me. I can imagine how they got through it. "I'm fine. Mom, it's all over." Yesterday the office held a meeting. Director Zhao personally restored my reputation. "That's good. That's good. You've suffered so much, my child. Your father, because of your situation." Half his hair turned white. My heart ached. "Dad?" He went to the park to play chess. "I didn't tell him. You called. Afraid he'd get upset again." "Mom, I need to tell you something." I paused, collected my thoughts. "I divorced Jiang Jiro yesterday." The line went dead silent. "What did you say? Divorce? Why? Is it because of her reporting you?" "Xiaoheng, listen to your mother. Husband and wife don't have overnight grudges. She might have just been momentarily confused." "Mom, I don't want to tell my parents that Niancy isn't my biological daughter. I'm afraid they can't handle the shock. To them, Niancy is their only granddaughter. She's the apple of their eye for 5 years. It would be too cruel to let them know the truth. She's been with someone else for a long time. Reporting me was also something they planned together. They wanted me locked up, so they could be together." Another dead silence on the line. This time, I could clearly hear my mother's heavy breathing. "That woman, how dare she? What has our Shin family ever done wrong to her? You treated her so well. How could she do something so unforgivable? Is everything over now? The divorce is done. He left with nothing. From now on, we have nothing to do with his family anymore. What about Niancy? Who will Niancy stay with? With him? That won't do. Niancy is our Shin family's granddaughter. She can't stay with that kind of woman. Mom, I've already decided on this. You and Dad should just pretend you don't have this granddaughter from now on." As soon as I said that, my hand was grabbed tightly by someone, hurting. But a short pain is better than a long one. Mom was silent on the other end of the line. She's a smart woman. She probably could tell from my tone. A deeper, unshakable determination. She didn't press further. "Mom understands. Xiaoheng, then take care of yourself. Come back whenever you miss home." "I understand." After hanging up, I felt like I had just fought another battle. I sat on the couch for a long time, until sunlight came in through the window, warming my face with a trace of comfort. In the afternoon, I returned to work. Director Zhao called me into his office. He personally brewed tea for me. He nodded and sighed. My face showed no expression. Shinhong, are things at home all sorted out? All sorted. Thank you for your concern, Director Zhao. Zhang Jiro. Sigh. The preparation for the new project is a mess of details. I threw all my energy into it. Meetings, research, writing proposals, coordinating between departments. I work late every day and come home very late. This busyness is like a good medicine. Keeps me from having time to think about all those messy things. It makes me feel like I found my bearings in life again. My life seems to be slowly getting back on track. However, just when I thought I could completely say goodbye to the past, a phone call shattered this peace. The call was from my ex-mother-in-law. Seeing that number, I initially wanted to just hang up, but after a moment's hesitation, I still answered. Shenhong, you goddamn bastard. Do you have any conscience? As soon as the call connected, there was a torrent of curses thrown at me. What have you done to our Jiro? How can you be so cruel? In the divorce, you didn't even let her get a single cent. She gave birth to your daughter, worked like a slave for you for so many years. And this is how you treat her? The ex-mother-in-law's voice was sharp, as if trying to pierce my eardrums. I moved the phone a little farther away, listening quietly. When she got tired of cursing, panting, I put the phone back to my ear and said, "Are you done? I want an explanation. You have to compensate Jiro with the house, car, and savings. You have to give her half. Otherwise we'll go to your workplace and make a scene. Sue you. Sue you for seduction and abandonment. For throwing away your wife and daughter, right? Are you sure you want to know why I did this?" The person on the other end was stunned for a moment. Is it because he reported you? Wasn't he doing it for your own good? He was deceived by someone. It seems Zhang Jiro didn't tell you the truth either. I walked to the window, looking at the bustling traffic downstairs. Then let me tell you two things. First, your daughter colluded with her lover, that man named Song Jiyuan, and meticulously plotted to falsely accuse and frame me, with the goal of sending me to prison, so they could legitimately take over all my property. This isn't a momentary lapse of judgment. This is a crime. I paused for a second, then said word by word, your daughter gave birth to someone else's child, made me a fool for 5 years, raising you, holding your granddaughter for 5 years, and she doesn't share a drop of blood with my family. After I said that, deathly silence fell on the other end of the line. I could picture the old lady on the phone, and the expression on her face right now. Shock, shame, or anger. I didn't care. After a full minute, a slap sound came through the phone, like a phone hitting the floor. Then the call was dropped. I stared at the dark screen and let out a long breath. The last possible trouble that could still haunt me in this world was now gone. I opened my phone contacts, found the groups, father-in-law and mother-in-law, and pressed delete, erasing every contact in them. From now on, no matter how long the road, we'll never cross paths again. That evening, I cooked a big dinner for myself at home. 4 dishes and a soup, all things I used to love. But Zhang Jiro thought were too much trouble, and never made. I opened a bottle of red wine, poured myself a glass, and sat alone at the huge dining table eating slowly. The house was quiet and empty, but for the first time I didn't feel lonely. It was an unprecedented sense of freedom and lightness. I didn't need to accommodate anyone anymore, didn't need to fake any emotions. I am just me, living for myself.